because we are where the money reside, where the money reside. If you try to slouch, it's like worse.
They don't even cleaning this shit up.
Where the money reside, where the money reside. Up here at this trampoline park, brought my kids and my little cousin up here to play, burn off some energy. I love you too, best friend. I love you too, best friend. Oh, let me not.
On September 8th, 2024, at 3:30 a.m., Chanti Dixon ordered an Uber after her night shift in Indianapolis. The assigned driver was Francisco Valadez. Ride records confirm she entered his vehicle. She was never seen alive again. Less than 36 hours later, her body was discovered in a wooded area near Lickridge Lane. The cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head. There were no signs of a robbery. Her phone and personal items were found nearby. The area showed no indication of a struggle. Police tracked the Uber route data, verified surveillance footage, and identified the last person to see her alive, her driver. Valadez was interviewed. He initially claimed that Dixon was shot during a robbery attempt by a third party. The details of his statement were inconsistent with GPS data, video evidence, and timeline analysis. He later confessed. According to the official police report, Valadez admitted he attempted to sexually assault the victim inside the vehicle. When she resisted, he shot her. He then disposed of her body in a wooded area and left the scene. Hours later, he returned and committed further criminal acts involving the body. He was arrested and charged with murder, rape, and abuse of a corpse. He had passed Uber's background check and had no prior record. Uber deactivated his account permanently after the arrest. This case does not involve an unknown suspect, random violence, or an unsolved mystery. All digital evidence, including app records and GPS tracking, directly link the suspect to the crime. This is a full story of every move, every brutal detail. If you're captivated by real crime stories that peel back the layers of truth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us as we uncover real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to the voiceless. Before we dive into today's story, we want to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? And how do you feel as the story unfolds? Welcome to Deadly Crime Unmasked, the show where we expose the shocking crimes that rip through communities and the chilling secrets lurking behind closed doors. These are real people, real events, real consequences. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. You won't want to miss the gripping story that's coming up. Now, let's dive in.
Well, we're learning more this morning about a woman allegedly murdered by her Uber driver just yards from her home.
Metro Police now tell us that Uber driver allegedly confessed to that murder. Matthew Foltz is following this story this morning with more on a crime that police are calling not only disturbing but disgusting. Good morning, Matthew.
Hey, good morning to you both. This is just a heartbreaking story all the way around. Metro Police telling us that they have arrested 29-year-old Francisco Valadez in connection to Chanti Dixon's murder. Now, officers say that they found Dixon on Sunday naked in a wooded area along Wagner Lane near East Raymond and Shervin Drive. She was found with gunshot wounds and pronounced dead at the scene.
Chanti Dixon was a 30-year-old woman living in Indianapolis, Indiana. She was a mother of 2 young children and worked night shifts to support her family. Her job title has not been publicly disclosed, but she regularly worked late hours, often clocking out as early as 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. Because of the nature of her work schedule and the need to return home safely during off-peak hours, Chanti relied heavily on ride-share services like Uber. It was a routine part of her life, booking a ride after a night shift and heading home to her children. She was described as responsible and independent. Those who knew her viewed her as someone who took her responsibilities seriously. She didn't depend on others for her needs. Instead, she worked consistently and structured her life around providing for her children. There is no indication of her having financial troubles or legal issues. According to official reports, she had no criminal history and lived a clean and quiet life. There were no red flags in her background, no drama, and no risky associations. Chanti was not a public figure. She did not have a large social media presence or a history of controversy. Her personal information was largely private until her tragic death drew public attention. She kept her life focused on work and family, managing her time between her night job and her responsibilities as a mother. She was not known to party or engage in high-risk behaviors. Her lifestyle was routine, practical, and centered on meeting the needs of her household. Due to her long working hours and late-night commute schedule, Chanti had made Uber a common part of her transportation. It was convenient, available at all hours, and offered what she believed to be a safer alternative to waiting at bus stops in the early hours of the morning. In Indianapolis, like many U.S. cities, rideshare services have become the standard mode of travel for those working unusual shifts. Chanti was no different. She followed that pattern and used the app to arrange her rides, likely expecting a simple trip from work to home like she had done many times before. According to police investigations, there was no personal or professional link between Chanti and the driver who picked her up the night she was murdered. She had never interacted with him prior to that Uber request. This was not someone she had met before, nor someone who was familiar with her routines. It was a random assignment made by the app's matching system. The driver, identified as Francisco Valadez, was simply the next available driver in the area. The system matched them automatically based on proximity and availability. There is no evidence they had ever spoken or met before that moment. Chanti's decision to use Uber was consistent with her normal behavior. She was not putting herself in danger knowingly. She was following the same process she had trusted dozens of times. Ride confirmed, vehicle identified, and a straight route home. This was supposed to be another routine trip. She likely entered the car, believing she'd be home in less than 20 minutes. She had no reason to suspect anything was wrong. The ride was booked through the app, her pickup time was logged, and her driver's information was stored digitally. Everything appeared secure on the surface. On the early morning of September 8, 2024, Chanti Dixon had just completed her overnight work shift. It was around 3:30 a.m. when she clocked out and prepared to head home. Chanti regularly used Uber for transportation, especially during odd hours. That night was no different. She pulled out her phone, opened the Uber app, and requested a ride to her destination. The app matched her with a nearby driver, Francisco Valadez, a 29-year-old male. According to Uber's ride history and data, Valadez accepted the ride and arrived at her pickup location within minutes. Surveillance footage from nearby cameras confirmed that Chanti entered the black sedan operated by Valadez. It was the last time she was seen alive. From that point, all details of what happened next come from Valadez's confession to police during his interrogation. There were no eyewitnesses in the car, and no video recording of the ride has been made available to the public. According to Francisco Valadez's later confession, the crime occurred shortly after Chanti entered his vehicle. After driving for a short while, he deviated from the expected route. He turned off the main road and pulled over into a more isolated area. There was no reason related to traffic or directions that explained why he stopped. Valadez told investigators that he intentionally pulled over with a plan in mind. Once parked, he made a sexual advance toward Chanti. It is unclear exactly what he said or did, but based on his statement, Chanti refused him immediately. He claimed she mocked or laughed at him during the refusal, which he interpreted as an insult. There is no recorded evidence of her exact response. At that point, Valadez told investigators that he became angry. He took out a firearm that he had in his possession and aimed at her. Then, while she was still in the vehicle, he shot her once in the head. The gunshot wound was later confirmed as the cause of death by the coroner's office. After she died, Valadez remained in the vehicle. He admitted to sexually violating her corpse inside the car after shooting. This act resulted in an additional criminal charge of abuse of a corpse, on top of the charges of murder and rape. Following the assault and murder, Valadez drove the car, with Chanti's body still inside, to a more remote, wooded area near a residential neighborhood in Indianapolis. He exited the car and dumped her body in the wooded area, attempting to hide it under natural cover. He left the scene and continued with his day. When Chanti did not return home and stopped answering messages, her family became concerned. She was reported missing within hours. On the morning of September 9, 2024, a disturbing discovery was made near Lick Ridge Lane, a quiet, wooded residential area in Indianapolis, Indiana. A passerby noticed something unusual in the brush near a tree line. A woman's body, lifeless and partially concealed by leaves and overgrowth. The witness immediately contacted emergency services. Police arrived at the scene around 8:30 a.m. and secured the area with yellow crime scene tape. The location was treated as a potential homicide site from the beginning due to the nature of the discovery. The victim was later identified as Chanti Dixon, reported missing just one day earlier. She had last been seen around 3:30 a.m. on September 8th after finishing a night shift at work and ordering an Uber to go home. The medical examiner's report confirmed the cause of death, a single gunshot wound to the head. There were no signs of defensive wounds, and her personal belongings, phone, purse, and ID, were still on her. There were no signs of robbery, and nothing indicated that she had died from a fall, accident, or overdose. The evidence was clear. It was not a robbery. It was not an accident. It was murder. The Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department launched an investigation the same day her body was found. Officers canvassed the area near Lickridge Lane, looking for any surveillance cameras or eyewitnesses who might have seen suspicious activity overnight. Crime scene investigators found a spent shell casing near the body. The bullet had entered the left side of the victim's head, suggesting she was shot at close range, likely while seated or restrained. Forensic analysts began processing the shell casing for fingerprints and DNA, and collected soil samples beneath the body to determine whether she had been killed at that location or moved there after death. Detectives also began tracing digital footprints. Chanti's phone records confirmed that she had booked a ride to the Uber app shortly after 3:30 a.m. on September 8th. The trip originated from her workplace and had been assigned to a driver named Francisco Valadez, a 29-year-old man with no prior criminal record listed in the app system. On September 9, 2024, police in Indianapolis announced the arrest of 29-year-old Francisco Valadez, an Uber driver charged in connection with the murder of his passenger, Chanti Dixon. The arrest came after the body of Dixon was discovered in a wooded area near Lickridge Lane, a residential neighborhood on the northeast side of Indianapolis. The body showed signs of violence, including a single gunshot wound to the head. Following an immediate investigation, detectives traced Dixon's final Uber trip through digital records, which led directly to Valadez. Uber's platform logs the pickup and drop-off locations of each ride, along with driver and passenger identities, timestamps, and GPS data. When investigators retrieved the data from Dixon's ride history, they confirmed that Francisco Valadez was the last known person to see her alive. Based on this data, police questioned Valadez at his residence. At first, he denied wrongdoing. He told officers that during the ride, Dixon had been robbed and shot by an unknown man who approached the vehicle. However, there was no surveillance footage, 911 call, or evidence to support this claim. Under continued questioning and forensic analysis of his vehicle, Valadez's story began to unravel. A shell casing found in the wooded area where Dixon's body was discovered matched the type of firearm later found in Valadez's possession. Blood samples collected from the passenger side of the vehicle matched Dixon's DNA. Additionally, phone records and data retrieved from the Uber app contradicted Valadez's version of events. As evidence mounted, he changed his account multiple times before finally confessing. According to the final police report, Valadez admitted to shooting Chanti Dixon during a sexual assault that occurred inside his vehicle. He stated that after she resisted his advance and laughed at him, he took out a firearm and shot her. He then transported her body to a secluded location and dumped it in the woods. He also admitted to tampering with the scene and moving items to mislead the investigation. Based on his confession and supporting forensic evidence, he was immediately arrested and booked into Marion County Jail. Francisco Valadez was officially charged with 3 felonies: murder, for intentionally killing Chanti Dixon by firearm; rape, for sexually assaulting her during the ride; abuse of a corpse, for disposing of her body in a wooded area and attempting to hide the evidence. Due to the serious nature of these charges, the court denied bail. Valadez remains in jail awaiting trial. The prosecutor's office announced that they will pursue the maximum sentence under Indiana law, which may include life imprisonment without parole. Valadez has been assigned a public defender. His preliminary hearing is scheduled, but no official trial date has been set yet. Following the arrest, Uber released a statement. They confirmed that Valadez had passed all required background checks before being allowed to drive for the platform. These checks include criminal history reviews and driving record inspections. At the time of his application, Valadez had no criminal record and had received no complaints from passengers. Uber also confirmed that his account had been permanently removed after the charges were filed. The company said they are working closely with police and have shared all ride data and account information with investigators. Uber also highlighted its built-in safety features. These include real-time GPS tracking, rider verification pins, emergency assistance tools, and trip-sharing options. Still, the incident has raised new concerns about passenger safety. Some advocacy groups are now calling for stronger safeguards. These include requiring in-car cameras, stricter background screening, and faster suspension of drivers facing criminal accusations. The Indianapolis Police Department has called this an isolated case. They said there is no known pattern of violent behavior from Valadez prior to this incident. However, they urge the public to follow basic safety steps when using rideshare services. These include checking the driver's name and car details, sitting in the back seat, and sharing trip information with friends or family. Valadez has not made any public statements since his arrest. Police are continuing to investigate his past Uber trips and interactions. Authorities are asking anyone who may have had previous contact with him to come forward with information. The Marion County District Attorney's Office said the evidence in this case is strong and includes digital records, DNA matches, forensic reports, and a full confession. Media coverage of the case has been widespread. Local and national outlets have focused on how the crime happened despite safety protocols. The case has also renewed scrutiny of app-based ride services. Legal experts suggest that while Uber systems help track activity, they cannot fully prevent incidents involving individuals who pass basic checks but later commit violent crimes. As of now, Francisco Valadez remains in jail. His case is moving toward trial. The outcome will depend on court proceedings, including whether his legal team tries to negotiate a plea deal. Prosecutors have not confirmed whether they will seek additional charges, but they remain confident in their current case. This situation continues to attract public attention and may lead to changes in how rideshare services operate in the future. The murder of Chanti Dixon by a driver she trusted has sparked serious questions about personal safety, app accountability, and digital transparency. It is now up to the legal system to determine Valadez's punishment and for the rideshare industry to evaluate its responsibility in preventing future tragedies. The family also launched a GoFundMe campaign. The purpose of the campaign was to raise financial support for Chanti Dixon's 2 young children. The GoFundMe description stated that the funds would be used for childcare, education, and household expenses. The campaign gained traction after several news outlets included the donation link in their coverage of the case. Supporters were able to contribute online, and many included brief messages of support and concern about rideshare safety. Rise Dixon used this platform to raise public awareness about rideshare safety practices. In her statements to media organizations, she listed several specific actions that could help others avoid similar danger. These included: Rise encouraged riders to share their trip location with a trusted contact. Most major ride-hailing platforms allow users to send a live GPS link of their trip. This can alert friends or family members in real time if anything seems suspicious. Before getting into any rideshare vehicle, riders should verify the license plate number displayed in the app. Matching this information ensures that a rider is getting into the correct car assigned by the platform and not into a different, potentially unsafe vehicle. Rise Dixon also advised riders to stay aware of their surroundings during the trip. She suggested avoiding distractions such as headphones or phone calls and paying attention to route changes, vehicle behavior, and driver conduct. If anything unusual occurs, she advised riders to exit the vehicle at the earliest safe opportunity and notify authorities. The family did not provide further comment on legal proceedings or the suspect, but continued to focus on their message of public awareness and protection for other potential victims. The murder of Chanti Dixon quickly attracted widespread public attention, both locally and nationally. Once the news broke about her being killed by a registered Uber driver, The story was widely shared across social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Hashtags including hashtag Justice for Chanti and hashtag Rideshare Safety began trending in parts of the United States. Several news outlets covered the case in detail. These provided a full report of the incident, including statements from police and details from court documents. ABC News highlighted the timeline of the ride, the confession of the Uber driver and the family's public comments, offered legal analysis and panel discussions on the case. Legal experts debated possible charges, the strength of confession, and likely sentencing outcomes. Court TV also discussed broader issues regarding passenger safety in rideshare environments. This international news outlet published a full feature on the crime. The article included crime scene photos, a breakdown of the driver's original false statements, and updates from law enforcement. The Sun's coverage helped bring more global attention to the case. Released video interviews with Chanti's family members. The network also published a breakdown of all known facts related to the suspect's background, the timeline of the incident, and the post-arrest investigation. As the story gained traction, public discussions emerged questioning the safety protocols used by rideshare companies. Many viewers and social media users expressed concern about how individuals with harmful intentions can gain access to riders through these platforms. Some of the major concerns raised included: members of the public asked how someone capable of committing murder and sexual assault was able to become a driver in the first place. Uber stated that the driver, Francisco Valadez, had passed a standard background check. Critics pointed out that background checks may not always detect dangerous personalities or predict future violent behavior. In response to public backlash, Uber confirmed that the suspect's account had been permanently banned and that they would reevaluate their safety screening processes. However, viewers continue to question whether rideshare companies are doing enough to prevent predators from gaining access to passengers. The case also exposed gaps in user safety protections on rideshare apps. Several commentators and experts noted that riders often lack real-time access to emergency help within the app. Although Uber includes an emergency button in its interface, many riders are unaware of it or may be too afraid to use it during a confrontation. Suggestions for improving rider security included mandatory dashcam use for all drivers, live audio recording options, two-factor identity confirmation between rider and driver, panic buttons that send silent alerts to authorities without needing to place a phone call. Some viewers also call on the companies to provide immediate real-time monitoring of rides taken during early morning or late-night hours, when incidents are statistically more likely to happen. Public responses were mostly centered on how the platforms could have prevented this incident or how they could change their systems to make future events less likely. If this story gripped your heart and left you questioning the truth, don't forget to hit that like button and share with others who need to hear it. For more chilling true crime stories that dive deep into the mysteries behind these tragedies, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest updates, investigations, and thought-provoking discussions. Thank you for being part of this journey with us as we uncover the truth and seek justice. Together, we can make a difference. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.